guys, it's Mary and I'm finally filming my June wrap-up. I know we're basically at the end of July now, but I don't know, I didn't have time to film, and then also it was, to me this video was hard to film as well because I didn't read a lot in June. Actually, I've only read one book. I DNF'd another book, and it was sort of a weird month because I have been during that month obsessing over a TV show, which is something that basically rarely happens. I'm not much of a TV watcher, but when I watch TV I do get immersed you know, in the TV show. And it actually took me even more than it would if I had watched that TV show on my own, because usually I binge watch when something is very interesting to me, but since I was watching it with my husband, we did take it slowly, and it took us basically the entire month to finish it, though it was not very long. But yes, that's why in this wrap-up I just wanted to talk about not only, you know, the couple of books that I have to talk about, but also just mention what I watched and a podcast that I've been listening to. I don't know if you like this format. I personally really enjoy when other booktubers share other things that involve maybe movies or TV shows or podcasts, just something, I don't want to say similar to books, but just media that we're consuming basically. But if you don't, you know, enjoy this kind of format, then you can just watch the first part of the video and then skip the rest. I'll just try and see if this could work for me. But first, I'm just going to briefly mention the DNF, which was The English Patient by Michael Ondaatje. And I read, well, 98 pages, which is, you know, quite a fair amount, I would say. And this is just not the book for me. It's not a bad book by any means. I was just not invested in any of the stories. I mean, any of the characters. I don't personally love war narratives, but this is a classic, and it's, you know, it's very well loved. So I just feel like this one wasn't the right book for me personally. But yeah, as I said, it's very well loved. It's just something that I felt like the characters were very flat, and the writing style, it's the main thing that I didn't enjoy. It's sort of, I don't know if it's right to say stream of consciousness, because it's not that hardcore. It's not, you know, Virginia Woolf's level of stream of consciousness. But it's just sometimes it talks about past and then the present. It's not very clear who's talking at first, and I hate to be confused in books. Sometimes it could work that maybe some books are confusing and then everything is tied together. I don't know. But this one didn't work for me, so it was a DNF. Next up, the book that took over my reading month was A Little Life by Hanya, Hanagihara. And boy, it's hard to talk about this book. It's very hard because it's a very polarizing book, because it deals, it's not, you know, that people are like, oh, I didn't like it, I didn't care about any of it, or oh, I really enjoyed it. It's more than that, because it deals with such sensitive topics that could be, I think, interpreted even in the wrong way. I feel like this book, well, first of all, let's just preface by saying what the book is about. I'll try to talk about this book without giving away any spoilers, because it's something that I hate, but it's also hard to talk about this without talking about the plot, because it's very tied to feelings that people might have towards it. So I'll just say that it is about a group of friends at university. Well, it starts when they're at university, but it does follow them throughout their whole life, and it does go back and forth in time. And it is mainly about Jude, which is one of the friends that has a very troubled past and has experienced abuse, and we sort of get to know him, we get to know his past like slowly, and also his future, and how it is intertwined with the other people in the story. The book is also about art, because lots of them are artists, so it talks about that as well. It's a world that is explored, even, you know, not only in the sort of artsy side, but also meaning art as work, as a job. So yeah, I think this is all I'm going to say about this book in terms of plot. As I said, it deals with very sensitive topics. That's why I would say, you know, when people talk about trigger warnings, I'd say that for this book, every trigger warning you can think of is inside this book. So if you don't want to read about these kind of things, then please don't. As I shared on my Instagram post, where I sort of briefly talked about this book, I wouldn't recommend this book to anyone, really. It's hard to recommend because I wouldn't tell someone, oh, read this book, it makes you feel so sad, because it is such a sad book. But I didn't feel hopeless. But you know, this is just so personal and intimate. This book is not light. It goes in very harshly on some topics that deserve more thoughtfulness. This book is so indelicate in dealing with topics that it could be perceived as disrespectful, and that's why people get so enraged. Again, I feel like this is borderline spoilers, but it's not a happy story. It's not a happy story. And most people don't like to read novels that are not uplifting and that are very bleak. But I think what the author also is trying to convey is that these stories exist. Maybe not to this extent, because this is more sort of like, it has this quality of a fairy tale, of an epic tale that doesn't exist in reality. Even though it's contemporary fiction, I felt like I was in another dimension. And actually, as I watched the author's, you know, interviews, it's exactly what she was trying to write about, sort of a fairy tale, which could be, you know, brutal and way more than reality, but it could also like somehow in some level, on some level, be true. I think it raises important topics in terms of death, in terms of willingness to leave, and how are we really responsible for other people's happiness, how we should think about our own happiness first. Again, it's very hard to be specific about this book without getting into like really real details. So of course, if you want to talk about this more in depth, even in the comments, let me know, because I'm happy to discuss it. But yeah, I really got a lot out from this book, and it made me sob in a way that I don't think any book ever did before. I think that happened with Harry Potter, maybe, but not to this extent. I had to stop reading and get tissue. Like, I think I changed like 3 tissues, and it's not only because it made me cry that I liked it, of course. Although I have to say that when I first finished it, I was like, this book deserves 5 stars. And then I sort of knocked down a star because I had to think, of course, this book is not perfect. Actually, it's very flawed. That's how, you know, there are brilliant negative reviews about this that point out like potentially things that could be wrong for a lot of people, and I sort of agree to a certain extent, but I also can't ignore how this book made me feel and how much I enjoyed the writing style and just how the story progressed. I don't know, but anyway, the characters I felt like could have been like the secondary characters a little bit more developed, in my opinion. At first I was a bit bothered by the change of narratives, because we have 3 different perspectives basically. There's a third-person narrator, but that is following Jude, then there is another third-person narrator that's following another character, and then there is a first-person narrator that has sort of like only a couple or maybe 3 chapters, but it all worked well in the end, this change of perspective. And another thing is that since I've watched interviews with the author, she didn't do any research on any of these, you know, heavy and sensitive topics that she dealt with. And although I feel like she nailed it anyway, I just feel like you owe people to do research when you talk about these topics. Just I mean, okay, you did it right, but you should have cared a little bit more about that. In my opinion, this is just, you know, something that sort of didn't sit well with me while I was reading her interviews. But other than that, this book was, yeah, it was something. And it did make me think a lot. It made me talk to other people about it, people that didn't read it, that maybe don't plan to read it anyway. I discussed about this with my husband, and I wish I could go more in depth, but unfortunately it would mean to spoil everything, and I don't want to do that on my channel. Yeah, so this one, oh boy, this was hard. So enough with the books, because unfortunately these are the only books that I touched in the month of June. I have been listening to a great podcast. I've been enjoying podcasts lately, and I usually listen only to literary podcasts, but this one that I found, it's amazing, and it's called Your Parenting Mojo. It's all about parenting, and it does talk about all the, you know, parenting ways that I'm familiar with, that I want to follow, and that I trust, and that I know are respectful towards children without being, you know, something that crushes the parent. It's just sort of finding a balance between your needs and your child's needs. So it's amazing. Of course, if you're a parent or if you have anything to do with children, then by any means check it out. Otherwise, of course, I don't think it would be of any interest for you. Then moving on to TV shows. As I said, I don't watch a lot of TV. I just go, you know, I just have periods in which maybe I'm reading all the time or I'm watching TV all the time. But usually I get very bored with TV shows. Like, for example, this is not something that I watched in June. I watched this, I started watching The Handmaid's Tale now, like a week ago or so, and I'm already bored. I don't wish to go on. And I read the book, I love the book. But I just don't gel with the TV show that much. Also, another thing before I talk about the TV show, I usually watch things that are not maybe that cool to talk about. I love weird or like wacky, or I love sort of wacky TV shows that are mainly with, you know, about teenagers. And that's just so weird to me because I don't like books. Like, I don't like YA books. And this stresses me out so much because I'm like, how can I appreciate and love teen dramas and not like YA? Like, the same thing but in books. I don't know what's wrong with me. But anyway, this book has nothing to do with wacky teenage stuff. It's called The Good Place. And I didn't hear enough people talk about this. It is amazing. I loved it. My husband loved it as well. It was suggested to me by my sister. And it's so clever and funny and perfect because it's also the perfect length. It's 4 seasons, and each season has sort of like 10, 11 episodes, and each episode is 20 minutes long. So it's like, it's a breeze. It's very, very quick to watch. And it's so clever. So the premise of the TV show is that Eleanor Shellstrop, which is who is played by Kristen Bell, whom I didn't really know anything about. I don't think I've ever watched anything by her, but I did know who she was, mainly for her like sloth meltdown viral video. So Eleanor Shellstrop dies and ends up in this place called The Good Place. And you know, she's there, and they greet her, they tell her, you're dead, but welcome to the good place. Here, there's everything you've ever wanted. You can have and ask for anything you want. You have the house of your dreams. This is your soulmate. And this is a replay of your life that has been so meaningful and, you know, that granted you the place here. And she's like looking around like, cool. But then when she's on her own, she's like, this is not my life. That was not my life, the one in the tape that I saw. There has been a mistake. I don't belong to the good place. My life wasn't that great. I was a bitch in real life. And so it all develops from there. She's trying to fit in, figure out what's going on while she interacts with the other, you know, people that are in the good place. And it's just, promise me that if you end up watching this show, you watch the entire first season before deciding whether to give it up or not, because at the end of season 1 you're like, oh, okay. So it's important that you reach the end of season 1. I watched it on Netflix, and yeah, it stole away my month, because even when I wasn't watching it, I was just thinking about it, and like maybe watching interviews with the cast, or yeah, so yeah, it was a great experience. And that's it, because I didn't even watch anything else. I hope you enjoyed this sort of rambly and messy video, and I'll talk to you in the comments. If you wish to say anything about what I said, to talk about the books that I mentioned, or you know, the TV show, whatever, I'll be here, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!